Hi, it's Paul from Sky Studios here. So today I'm going to be doing video 4 in the series showing how Sable can be used to create an RPG audio game. In today's video we're going to be showing how to create an enemy, and we'll also be demonstrating a battle within Sable as well. So let's load Sable and get the demonstration started.
Enter. Sable Engine, Alpha 1.59.
Sky Studios.
Sable Pre-Alpha, by Sky Studios. Main menu, please select.
Okay, so let's start by loading the project that we've been working on.
Play game. Load project. Please select project. Sable Demo. Please select map to load. Map 1. Opening map 1.
Okay, and we're back in the inn, which is where we left the last video. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to load up the Creation Tools menu.
Creation Tools. Please select which of the tools you wish to use.
Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a wolf. So to create a wolf we're going to need the Enemy Creation Tool. Ability
Creation Tool. Armor Creation. Enemy Creation Tool.
Here we go.
Monster Creator, please enter creature's name, edit, type and text.
Okay, so let's call it Wolf.
W-O-L-F. Wolf.
Please select
edit,
enemy sound set.
Okay, so we discussed sound sets in the last video, so I've created a wolf sound set. Let's select that.
Wolf.
This basically holds all the sounds for things like death sounds, pain sounds. One of the things I don't think I mentioned in last week's video, or the last video, sorry, was that when you're adding sounds to a folder within a sound set, you can actually add multiple sounds. So for instance, I've added more than one pain sound for the wolf. That basically means when the wolf's attacked or injured, it will randomly pick one of the sounds from that folder and play it. So you might get a slightly different pain sound every time the wolf's injured. So this kind of just creates a more immersive soundscape for Sable. So you can add as many sounds as you want to a sound set folder, and it will just pick one of those at random when it's needed. So let's select that.
Please select melee sound set.
Okay, and then we need the melee sound set. So this is the type of sounds that will be used when the enemy attacks.
Martial art trained.
Let's
Slime.
just find wolf.
Wolf.
There we go. And this has things like its attack sound, its miss sounds, and again you can add multiple sounds for each folder here again.
Does this enemy have a body fall sound when defeated?
Okay, so you might want to maybe create something like ethereal enemies, which obviously you wouldn't want to have a body fall sound when they're defeated, so you can select yes or no for this. Because a wolf will, we're going to say yes.
Please enter the enemy's level. The only thing this affects are the enemy's attacks where damage is determined by the enemy's level, edit 1.
Okay, so we're just going to leave the wolf as level 1.
Enter a description, edit, type and text.
We won't worry about a description for the purpose of the demo.
Enter amount of experience gained for killing this enemy, edit 0, type and text.
Let's say we earn 20 experience for defeating the
20,
wolf.
enter amount of gold gained for killing this enemy, edit 0,
Let's
type and
say
text.
0.
Enter strength, edit 10, type and text.
We'll get the wolf's strength
1,
15.
5, 15, enter dexterity, edit 10, type and text.
All its other base stats as 10.
Enter constitution, edit 10, enter intelligence, edit 10, enter wisdom, edit 10, enter charisma, edit 10, enter armor rating, edit 0,
Okay,
type and text.
we won't give it an armor rating.
Enter HP, this plus the constitution modifier will give the enemy's total HP value, edit 10, type
Okay,
and
so
text.
let's just leave that as 10.
Enter mana points, this plus modifiers will give the enemy's total mana value, edit 0, type and
we'll
text.
leave that as
Enter
0.
stamina points, this plus the constitution modifier will give the enemy's total stamina value, edit 0,
Okay,
type
we'll
and
leave
text.
that as 0.
Does this
type and
enemy
text.
have any natural resiliences?
Does it have any natural resiliences? We're going to
No.
say no.
Would you like to equip this enemy with a weapon?
So again, we could equip the enemy at this stage with a weapon. Obviously a wolf wouldn't have a weapon, so we're just going to say no. Again, you can always equip weapons and stuff like this at a later stage if you want as well.
No.
Anyway.
Please select which stat modifier this enemy's attack uses.
Let's say
Strength.
Strength.
Please select the type of physical damage this enemy deals.
What type of physical damage does it deal? Let's say piercing.
Piercing. Do you want to add a secondary damage type to this enemy's attack?
Say no.
No.
Enter the amount of dice used to calculate damage, edit 1, type
Okay,
and text.
so here's where we specify how much damage the wolf does. So it's asking how many dice we use. Let's just say 1.
Enter the amount of sides the dice have, edit 6,
How many
type and
sides
text.
does the
1,
dice have? Let's
0.
say 10. So that means the wolf will do between 1 and 10 damage.
Does this
enter
enemy
type and
drop
text.
any items?
Modifiers. And we can also specify whether the wolf drops any items, so you could add specific items the wolf might drop here. Now, the nice thing with this as well is you can specify the percentage chance of it dropping that weapon or item or whatever it is it drops. So for instance, you could have rare drops that you might only say have a couple of % chance of dropping, or you might have a more common drop that's say, I don't know, 70 or 80%. But again, you can play around with the percentages. It just gives a nice little bit of flexibility there. We're going to say the wolf doesn't drop anything though.
No. Would you like to assign any abilities or magic to this enemy?
Okay, so if we'd created abilities or magic, we could assign them here. Again, like everything else, you can assign them here or at a later stage. Because we haven't created any abilities or magic, we'll say no.
No.
Okay, and there you go. We've created a wolf for the map. So the next thing we can do is we can set the encounter rate on the map. So let me bring up that.
Enter the probability of a random encounter on this map. Edit. Type in text.
Okay, so I'm going to set this as 15. That basically means a 1 in 15 chance of encountering an enemy every time the player moves.
1, 5, 15. Enter. Edit. Type in text.
And the next thing we can do is we can create what's called enemy groups or enemy banding. So basically, let me bring up
Please
the
select.
tool for that.
Create new group.
So the purpose of this is you can create specific bands of enemies. So for instance, obviously if you've created a lot of enemies on a map, you wouldn't necessarily want the player to encounter, say, I don't know, a goblin and a wolf at the same time. So you can create what we call enemy groups. And here's where you specify the enemies that will be encountered in certain groups. So you might, for instance, create a pack of wolves, which would just be wolves, or maybe a goblin raiding party, or whatever. But again, what we're going to do is we're going to create a band here, or a grouping for this enemy.
Please enter a name for the new enemy band. Edit. Type in text.
Because I just want it to be a single wolf encounter, I'm going to call it single wolf.
Wolf. Enter.
Please select
Edit.
whether
Type in
this
text.
group will only be encountered indoors or outdoors.
So with enemy bands, you can specify where you encounter them, indoors, outdoors, or both. As again, there'll be certain enemies you won't want to encounter indoors. For example, you wouldn't want to encounter necessarily a wolf indoors. So
Indoors.
we're going to say
Outdoors. Both.
outdoors just for the wolf.
Would you like to assign this enemy to only appear on certain terrain types?
You can also select bands of enemies to only appear on certain terrain types. So for instance, you might create, say, a water spirit, and you'd only want it to encounter when you're on a water terrain tile, or I don't know, maybe a goblin scouting party hiding around in the forest areas. They only appear on forest terrains. We'll say yes, just to show this.
Terrain menu.
And
Please
what we'll
select
do
tile type.
is we
Asphalt.
can select a type of terrain
Bones.
that this enemy will appear
Broken
on.
concrete.
Because we don't have much in the way of terrain on our map, we're just going to
Grass.
set it to grass.
Would you like to assign another terrain type?
We'll say no here.
No.
And this just basically means we'll only encounter the wolf now on a grass tile. So if we're, for instance, on the path or the bridge or the water, we wouldn't encounter the wolf.
Is this a fixed band? Yes.
Okay, so the next thing is you can specify whether this is a fixed enemy group or a random group. So a fixed group, you just add the enemies that you actually want to the band, and that'll be exactly who you encounter every time. Random is you just select whatever enemies you want to appear in the band. You can add as many enemies as you want, and then you specify how many enemies are in the band. So it will be, for instance, 1 to 3, and then when you encounter the band, Sable will pick a number between 1 and 3, and then fill it with enemies from that band. So it's kind of adds for a more random approach if you want that fill. We're going to say we want a fixed band for the example of this demo, though.
Please select enemy.
Here we can add the enemy to
Wolf.
the band.
Would you like to add another enemy to this band?
We'll say no, because we only want this to be one wolf in this encounter.
No.
And there we go, we've created the enemy band as well. So what we'll need to do now is we'll need to go into debug mode, and then we're going to play a battle, because you obviously wouldn't want to be battling things constantly while you're in the editing map. So I'm going to just pause the recording here while I slip into debug mode, and then start the recording again, and we'll see a battle play through with the wolf, and also you see the weapon we created, the bow, in use as well. And I'm back, but now I'm in debug mode. So like I said, the main reason for going into debug mode was just purely that you can't encounter enemies while editing a map. So if you want to test anything in a battle, it's easiest just to go into debug mode, so you can do that, or you could create a playable game and run through that way. But anyway, I'm on the path outside the inn which leads to the bridge. Now, since we created the enemy encounters to be only on grass, the whole time I'm on the path we won't encounter any wolves, so let's head out.
Leaving path to inn.
Oh, we encountered one straight away.
You encounter one enemy. Warrior, please select.
Okay, so as you heard, it's obviously transitioned into the battle screen, and it's announced we've encountered one enemy, and since Sable is turn-based, it's let us know whose turn's first. It's saying it's the warriors. Now, normally at this stage it would show the player's name as to whose turn it was, but because we're in debug mode, names to players haven't been assigned, so it just brings up player classes instead. But this is quite handy for if you want to test new abilities or skills or attributes you might have added to certain classes. So let's have a look at the options the warrior has.
Attack, defend, equipment, items, status, battle order, flee.
Okay, so there you go, there's the options. Now, obviously if we'd created abilities or magic or anything like that for the warrior, the options would appear in here as well, but since we haven't, that's why they're not showing. So let's just go to attack. Now, if you remember, we equipped the warrior with the bow we created in the last video, so let's attack and it will use that bow so we can hear how that sounds.
Please select.
So we need to select a target. There's the wolf. If we'd given the wolf a description, we could check the description at this stage, but we haven't, so let's just attack the wolf with the bow.
7 damage, badly injured. Wolf. Warrior. Critical hit, 18 damage, critically injured. Mage, please select.
Okay, so the warrior took a bit of a hitting there. Now, it's the mage's go next. We haven't obviously given the mage any abilities, so I'm just simply going to make it just attack, just to finish off the wolf, since we didn't give the wolf much health anyway.
Please
Hopefully
select.
this will finish him.
Wolf. Wolf has been defeated. 5 experience gained, found 0 gold.
And there you go. That shows a basic battle and an enemy being created as well. Now, obviously that was quite basic. Again, you could add more complexities to the enemy by adding either abilities or magic or status effects. And again, you might have more complex battles where you've got more enemies, etc. But hopefully that just gives you an overview of how the battle system and enemy creation systems work. And that's where I'm going to leave the video for today. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you want to stay up to date with videos we release, you can always subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll be notified when videos are released. The other thing you can do is you can always like the Ebon Sky Studios Facebook page, and that way you keep up to date on videos being released and any news and updates as well. As ever, I've enjoyed doing the video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it too.